common question we get is, what is Telecom Expense Management, or TEM, also referred to as Technology Expense Management? And so to understand what it is, it's really important to understand why it exists. So if you've never worked in an enterprise, very large company in the IT or finance department, then you may not be aware that this problem even exists. But there actually really is a big problem when it comes to managing all of the IT invoices and expenses that come along with doing business for an enterprise. So consider a company that has mobile devices, cell phones, issued to their employees, and their employees are scattered all over the world. You think about people are in a certain area. AT&T might be really powerful there. Sprint may be powerful in another area. T-Mobile in another. So before you know it, not only do you have actual cell phones in people's hands across the country or world, but you also have all these different carrier invoices or carrier agreements with AT&T, with T-Mobile to say, Keith is on the $100 a month plan with X amount of usage, and Sarah is on another plan. And you've got all these different plans with different carriers, and that starts to get really complicated. How do you know if Keith is going over his monthly usage when he's one of 30,000 people with a cell phone? How do you know if Keith is just putting his cell phone in a drawer and not even using it and using his personal one, yet you're still paying $100 per month for the plan? So really difficult to understand and keep track of all those things. Now, take that and multiply it by not just the carrier plans, but the actual cell phones. They break. There's upgrades available for a new model. There are accessories that might be needed. So all of those things have to be managed when you are deploying a fleet of mobile devices. Also think about the more traditional telecom invoices, or also referred to as fixed or hardline invoices. For that, consider a business that has either offices or actual storefronts spread across the country or the world. Each of those offices has actual hard wires, they have switches, they have physical phones, they have assets, they have all these things that exist at all the places that IT needs to keep track of, understand the life cycle of. Are they going to break soon? How do we fix them? Is this old? Do we need new technology? Then you've got the same thing, carrier plans that are assigned to those switches that are sitting inside of an office. And it's hard to keep track of which ones are on, which ones are off. A perfect example is with brightfin. We had a client that came on with us, and we were automatically starting to do all their pull in all their invoices for telecom. And we found out that they had moved out of an office a long time ago, emailed the carrier to shut that switch off, and it never got shut off. Invoices kept coming in, and finance just kept paying them because finance didn't really know that office had closed. Possibly they're just seeing invoices. They've paid those invoices before for that carrier, automatically pay. We were able to recoup, I think it was $56,000 for that company because it was erroneous billing that should have been turned off. So now you've got all these mobile devices, you've got telecom invoices causing all these problems and all these different invoices coming in. And then think about cloud. So much is moving to the cloud these days, whether it be moving your actual physical network servers more to a cloud environment, or just spinning up cloud environments for special projects. They're very easy to spin up and not that easy to keep control of and understand what's out there and what's happening. And so for a company that's using maybe AWS, Amazon Web Services, for their cloud environments, they have an AWS portal they can log into and see what their 1,000-page invoice might be broken out to. But when you have AWS and you're also using Google Cloud or Azure, then it becomes a lot more difficult because you've got different cloud environments with different providers. You have to log into different places to see it, and it gets cumbersome. So now you take all of those things, mobile, fixed telecom, and cloud, and you say, geez, how is any IT or finance leader supposed to make the right decisions as to which invoices should we pay? Are we paying the right amount? Could we be spending less? How much should we budget for next year? Are there any things that we can do to optimize our total IT spend? All of those questions that come up all the time are just incredibly hard to answer because you have invoices coming in from different places, in different formats, and being read by different tools internally. So as an example, an AT&T invoice might have the charge of how much that charge is for in the top left. In let's say row 5. T-Mobile might be completely different. Sprint completely different. So all these invoices come in different formats and at different times. Some will come through email, some will come in PDF, some will come in digital, electronic format through a portal. And so how do you get control of all these things? That's where TEM, or Telecom Expense Management, or Technology Expense Management providers come into play. Brightfin is an example of one of those telecom expense management providers. The core use of a telecom expense management provider has evolved over time. Back at the beginning, it was just really for those hardwire telecom invoices, which is why it's commonly referred to as telecom expense management. Over time, with more mobile devices getting deployed, more cloud environments, some people have kind of expanded that to be technology expense management. And TEM providers have often really focused in on the optimization side of things, meaning saving companies money. And so think about when we are pulling in to our platform, to the brightfin platform, we're pulling in invoices automatically from all of the mobile carriers, telecom cloud carriers, and cloud. We're pulling them all into one platform so that IT leaders and finance leaders can see everything in one place, drill down into actual invoices and usage, and see trends and all that good stuff. As we're doing that, we are able to actually optimize those invoices for the providers. So as an example, let's say people have left the company and IT recouped those cell phones and they put them in a closet because they didn't really know what to do with them, they didn't need to deploy them, and they didn't actually turn the carrier plans off. Well, that's a very common way to have misuse or erroneous spend when it comes to mobile devices, because that company is now paying for, call it $100 a month for 50 phones to just be sitting in a closet. And it's really not caught because the invoices are coming in. It's, let's call it, it's $5,000 of, a $400,000 total charge. It's very easy to miss that and not realize that, oh, that's right, Keith left the company a year ago and we've still been paying for his cell phone. And so it is really difficult to manage that, which is why telecom expense management companies import the invoices and do the optimizations to actually help companies identify those opportunities to lower the spend, and in many cases actually make the changes to the carrier plans on their behalf. So at Brightfin, we'll go in and actually manually, we'll look at it and say, hey, this person is going to have a bill for $100 this month, but they've only used a few minutes of their plan. Let's automatically bring that plan down before the invoice cycle closes. So instead of them paying $100, they're only paying $10. Or, hey, there are 5 phones out there out of the fleet of 30,000 that are eating up all of the data usage. And it's because those people are watching Disney Plus. Let's block Disney Plus from the work phone so that can't happen. So all of those and many more are ways that telecom expense management companies will optimize the spend for IT and finance teams at large companies. In addition to all the operational and logistical components that a telecom expense management provider like Brightfin can do for a company, the 2 other big components to consider are the efficiency gains and the full visibility of IT expenses. So through a workflow engine, Brightfin can actually make manual processes much more simple. As an example, Vitas Healthcare, it used to take their IT team 23 hours of their time every time a new employee was hired. This is a healthcare company. Think about that. They're hiring a nurse. And now it's 23 hours, not of consecutive just in one day, it's 23 hours of work time in order for the IT team to be doing manual processes to get that person set up, to get that nurse set up with the devices and technology they need to do their job. By using these automated workflows that we can set up, we've reduced that time to just 1 hour, right? Which is a much easier experience and faster experience to allow those nurses to get to work as soon as possible. The other component is the full visibility of all the IT expenses. It's crazy to think, but large corporations, you think they just have everything completely buttoned up and perfect, and they often don't. They're using manual spreadsheets or tools like Power BI or things like that to kind of stitch data together from all over the place. The brightfin platform allows them to see mobile, fixed, and cloud expenses all in one place with trend data and deep dives into the actual contracts and usage. And one of the big values of brightfin is that all of this is built right on top of ServiceNow, which is a leading platform for IT teams to use for their IT service management. So they're logging all their tickets, incidents, they're adding their departments and their projects all into this ServiceNow environment. And other TEMs will store IT invoices in a different system than ServiceNow. And so when you want to try to get those to talk, it's extremely difficult. So if you wanted to know how much this department from IT, from ServiceNow, is spending on telecom invoices, you can't really do that. If you want to know how much this project has racked up in cloud costs, you can't really do that because they're in two different systems. Think about it like two different Excel sheets and you're trying to run a pivot table. It's not going to happen, right? You got to have those in the same sheet. And so that's the big value of brightfin, is that we actually store all of the IT invoice data from mobile, fixed, and cloud inside of ServiceNow. So even if a company is not using ServiceNow, that's okay. They still have this built-on now environment to store all their IT invoices, super secure, fast, it's phenomenal. But for companies that use ServiceNow, this is a huge benefit because now their IT invoices live in the same place as their IT service management data. So it's very easy for IT teams to say, ooh, this project cost us this amount in cloud spend. This department is racking up this amount in charges. Why is that team way over? Why is this location way under in spend? So all of that trend data is now very easily accessible to IT and finance leaders. That's where we start to bridge from telecom expense management to actual IT financial management, ITFM. Traditionally, they have never been the same thing. Telecom expense management companies do IT invoice optimization. IT financial management software kind of brings IT expenses in, but not the deep level of data that a telecom expense management provider would have. They kind of use like summary data, like you've spent this much in cloud, this much in mobile devices. By combining the telecom expense management and IT financial management components into one software, which is brightfin, now there is just incredibly more potential for IT and financial teams to see their data in one unified platform with trend data and actionable insights to know what they can do to save more money, budget accordingly, forecast accordingly, and actually make sure that they are not overspending and keeping the operational and strategic initiatives in place for their teams. So it's actually easy to think of brightfin as telecom expense management, TEM, plus IT financial management, plus services, all natively built on ServiceNow.